Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this insight session on customer growth. Hope you've all had a really good morning with lots of interesting meetings. Absolutely delighted to welcome here today Ali Powell, who is a business growth expert. And we've had some fascinating conversations. So I'm hoping that today's conversation with Ali will inspire you all. Ali's background, my goodness, she's done so many amazing things, but I'll try to do her justice. She has held some really senior leadership positions in commercial sales and marketing for Intercontinental, Hilton, Fitness First. She's also won many awards, including Turnaround of the Year award. I think that was for her work at Fitness First, Businesswoman of the Year in 2017. And most recently, she was ranked pretty highly in the customer experience influencer list. So welcome, Ali, and thank you so much for joining us. I know that you've got so many insights, which will be very interesting for everybody to listen to. So let's kick off. As we've discussed beforehand, we've got a mixed audience here. So a combination, I think, mainly of hoteliers and our partners on the buying side, whether that's travel agents, concierge, wedding planners, MICE agencies. So we'll try very hard to make sure that everything we chat about is relevant to everybody. This is obviously a real turning point, I think, right now, as all business owners and leaders are starting to think about how are they going to pick up business again. So what I wanted to ask you to kick off with is, how should they be thinking about who they're identifying who their customers are now, because that may well have changed. Over to you.
Absolutely. So hello everyone, delighted to be here. Thanks for the time. Absolutely. I'm passionate about helping growth, particularly in our sector. So thinking about now who to be targeting, how to grow. I would first sort of think about it in two different sections, really. So I think, one thing I'm quite passionate about is the power of thinking about your existing customers first, and then I'll come on to new in a second. But if we just talk about existing, focusing on existing customers and trying to get their attention and their loyalty with you is so much more cost efficient. There's some Harvard Business Review said that it could be 7 to 20 times more efficient to focus on who your existing customers are. And often, we sort of get sidetracked or focus on the sort of shiny new things. And so, firstly, I would say, and depending on your level of sophistication, you'll have some form of CRM or database at the moment, which will say your current clients, and you might already have sort of ranked that by the sort of 80-20 Pareto rule to say, well, who are the ones that give you the most revenue? And I would sort of firstly, be thinking about what are your strategies to try to maximize the value from them. So for instance, how do you get this ideal recurring revenue coming back also versus just one-off transactions when they come back? I'm a massive fan of things like membership models and subscriptions, and I know some of us on the phone here have those in place, and those are brilliant because you've got a regular income coming in, and I keep seeing more and more industries embracing this. I mean, I just was signing up myself today for a monthly wine subscription, monthly flowers from M&S, goes on and on. So how can you put in some sort of recurring membership or subscription model? What is the bundles in that? What is your bronze, silver and gold version of that? How can you really show them a lot of love to make them feel special, like a VIP thing that you're reaching out to embrace them? At the moment, I know we can't see in person, but like a handwritten note goes a long way, or just a little thoughtful gift. Some of you have got incredible detail on those customers in terms of what they like or their hobbies. So it's how you sort of show thoughtfulness. So that would be say in terms of your existing relationships, really try to nurture them and keep them. But then if we go on to, new customers. So obviously this situation that we're all in has made we need to sometimes pivot to think, well, where is the demand coming from? And, a saying that I like analogies and visuals, so I would say is, about fishing where the fish are. So if we're now all thinking, right, we're a hotel, travel operator, wedding, whatever we are, is, well, where are the clients going to come from in the next 3 to 6 months? So, you know, we know until whatever, hopefully February the 22nd, when we have a lot more clarity. There's still a lot of unknowns out there for England anyway, and every country is in its own sort of state. But, you know, if we just talk UK, for instance, it would be, well, what might really come back hard in April? So am I ready for domestic? So if it's domestic travel, what are the segments within there that we would want to really niche on? So, you know, the more targeted you can get about knowing who your customer and then how you're going to get them in terms of your proposition, the better. So I would look at, you know, which segment does your business already do well, that is like a bit different, and how do you go harder on it? You know, so is it, for instance, you have a great cultural sort of package, and you could partner with some more strategic destination local players to put something really compelling together, and then sort of go hard on that sort of segment, versus trying to just be something for everybody and, you know, just a bit too scattergun.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That's a great intro. I was interested when you were talking about recurring models, and I've heard you speak about that before. I know you're really passionate about it, and of course, it makes so much sense. Have you got any examples? I think I've heard you mention before a couple of examples on the hotel side, how that might work, because I think it's probably more common within concierge type situations. And obviously we're all familiar with the model, as you've mentioned before, in terms of, you know, health clubs, wine clubs, that kind of thing. But I think generally hotels do less of that. Have you got any examples of how that might work?
Yeah, so if I, I'm sort of happy to send you sort of a mini deck after this, because I've been putting it all together in like a best classes practice desk at the moment. So if I give you some examples that are like out there right now, you know, Soho House is the one that's sort of been longest established in terms of more of a leisure membership that tries to be all about the community of creative, like-minded people. So that is a membership on the leisure side. Another angle on the corporate side is Citizen M, who I think about 6 months ago, they introduced something called a corporate subscription package, which I believe is €500 per month. And so they are trying to say, you know, if your business gives us 5 room nights per year, and, you know, we will give in return for you giving us something, we will give you back sort of the preferential rates on other ancillary revenues, such as, you know, meetings and our leisure proposition. So Citizen M is out there with corporate model. The Village hotels, they do a nice co-working membership model now, where you can either just go in and do co-working for the day, and you can either have a fixed desk or a free roaming desk, and then you can bundle that with what they call their platinum package, where you would also be allowed use of their leisure facilities. So you know, their swimming pool and stuff.
Yeah, I think that last example is a really good one. We've certainly seen quite a bit of that, certainly here in the UK, and I think elsewhere, which works really well for your sort of local domestic market. Fantastic, thank you. And I forgot to mention to everybody, obviously, please do enter any questions on the chat as we go along. We'll be monitoring that and looking at that, so feel free to engage. We'd love it to be interactive. So once you have, as a business, sort of identified, you know, who are your existing customers, how do you maximize that potential and expand on that, like you've just described, Ali, how would you suggest that you then sort of formulate your proposition? Because obviously, certainly on the hotel side, there may be services and experiences, customer experiences, that you have to adapt. Have you got any tips on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, once you've identified which segment you're going for, so let's say we're going to go for couples doing some sort of cultural staycation, hopefully for 2 nights plus. What then, like you said, you want to do is put together a really unique, compelling offer that will make you stand out above your competitors. So you also want to bundle it well, that it's actually got a good margin for you, but the customer actually thinks they're getting a great deal. So I think it would be firstly like looking at what you do well anyway. So you might have a fantastic head chef. And if we go on this sort of cultural staycation thing, say you're a hotel in Cornwall, just making this up, part of that cultural staycation might be like a cooking class where you're in a group setting by the head chef, because people, want to be in some buzzy place at the moment and learning. And the head chef is making some, lovely local delights. And then in the afternoon, you might now partner with a vineyard that's nearby, and even a cycle company to get there. And then you go and have a wonderful afternoon doing wine tasting. Then you come back for a lovely package where you might have upsold them to a deluxe or a suite to continue, and you might provide a free book that's about something interesting culturally or heritage highlights. And then the next morning, for instance, you might do a walking or a stroke boat tour of cultural impressive places. So that is sort of trying to bundle an offer, if that's what you mean, and then setting you apart from people.
And actually, that point about partnerships and collaborations that you've just touched on, that's something that I think we're all hearing an awful lot about. I mean, I know within our own business, we've always had a lot of partnerships, but certainly it's something that, we have been expanding on in the last year, and we've heard it from others that we work with. Can you just talk a little bit about that maybe, and how that is a great way, from a customer growth perspective, which is what we're talking about right now, how that could work for businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, it's totally a case of 1 + 1 = 3 with partnerships, and I'm delighted to see more people celebrating them publicly now. So I think in terms of identifying your perfect partner marriage, you would be looking at things like who's got shared values to you. So if it's around something you hero on, like sustainability, sort of eco, that might be an angle. If it's local, that might be another angle. Transparency. So one angle is sharing values. Another angle is totally like common reach of the same target customer. So for instance, if you are, I mean, anyone, I'll just take an example, say when I worked for Fitness First, there we partner with a health insurance, because you both have got a win-win in that you both want sort of each other's customers. There's a shared proposition there, and it's a win-win for the customer, it's a win-win for you commercially. So yeah, who's got a database that might be attractive to you? So for instance, if you're a hotel like near a marina or something like that, some of the coastal ones, is there like a yachting company near down by the harbor, or a posh restaurant? This is if you're a luxury hotel, where you could come up with some sort of partnership together where you would be able to share the benefits.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much. Again, do feel free, if you have any questions on anything that Ali's touching on, to please enter them in the chat. Another point that comes up quite regularly is, once you've identified your audiences and the opportunities, the collaborations and partnerships and so on, and I think particularly in the luxury market, there's often some hesitancy around marketing yourself sort of too overtly, so that, God forbid we should look desperate in any way. We want to do it with elegance, and I think particularly at the moment, obviously, everybody's thinking about how do we market ourselves tastefully, but we need to get messages across. Any thoughts on that, ways to go around that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always, like I say, want to do it at the moment with a level of subtleness and respect for the situation. So, there's lots of good examples at the moment about showing empathy and caring in your language. So, and also just mandatory things that just have to be there as well, like no-brainers, to show that you have a relevance of today's world, like you would have high quality safety procedures in place and flexible cancellation policies. Those sort of two are just more sort of mandatory table stakes, I would say. But yeah, to your point, then it's, I think it's knowing though that people, you are providing a solution. In the end of the day, we're here in business because we provide happiness and experiences for people, and for people's mental health and stuff. At the moment, people get a lot of delight, however much the statistics say, 50% can just be from the planning and the talking about it and the researching, as much as the physically experiencing it. So, right now is, I think, would just be knowing that in your head, that it's not about hard sales. It's about, you're actually providing moments of joy for people as you share with them this wonderful thing you've come up with for them to get excited about, whether it's me time for yourself, whether it's a couples package, whether it's a treat for your pets or your family, and saying it in a way that's not so hardcore, like you say, but just as actually wonderful experience.
Yeah, we're so fortunate to work in an industry that is so inspirational. It is something that, can be such a joy, as you say, to talk about and market. There's a question relating to that that's just popped up about, which is a good question, like how often, the regularity of that marketing, how often should you market yourself to your clients or trade partners, and what is too much?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it will depend on your marketing channel. So without going sort of line by line on those, but if you were just saying sort of more general messages about sort of getting out there with exposure, for instance, with your social media, and I think I caught the end of your lady yesterday. Yeah, of course, daily if you can, brilliant. With I'd say 80% being just inspiring content and 20% more being selling. So still just coming up with really lovely content daily if you can. If not, I'd say minimum of three times a week. And then for other things, like say we're saying an email newsletter, I would be doing minimum of monthly for that. For your sort of VIPs where you've got great existing relationships, I think it's even more frequent than that, as of when something relevant comes up for them, that you might see it showing sort of thoughtfulness. And you're right, we can't sometimes know that until it comes up. But like you say, you still need to be out there from a marketing point of view, because otherwise the competitors will be out there and people will switch, if you're not still out there.
Yeah, well, we totally agree with that here at Mason Rose. And what about the sort of the method of marketing? How about technology in all of this? You touched on CRM, your CRM at the start. And I know when you and I were having a conversation with somebody earlier this week, we were talking about, the importance of technology and investing in technology, even for sort of smaller firms, and the bespoke nature of that, how you can become quite sophisticated with that, and using different methods of communication, maybe for different cultures. So, we were chatting about how in Spain and other parts of the world, WhatsApp is definitely the way to communicate. Have you got any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I say in the ideal world, you would know every client's preference of their preferred channel. If it's WhatsApp and they keep coming back to you on WhatsApp, great. You need to keep communicating with them like that. At the moment, a lot of my interaction is LinkedIn InMail. It's just working really well for me, so I sort of go on that. But yeah, more to what you're saying about sort of more generally and having a CRM database. There's so many out there, as you know, and always just different CRM databases are dependent on the level of sophistication. But at some sort of simple level, you would want to be tracking all your customers and applying some sort of segmentation lens if you can, even just knowing what stage they're at in the purchase cycle with you. Are they existing customers? Are they past, but they've all lapsed, if you want to use that word? Are they prospects? Where are they in their cycle? And then if you can ideally be capturing preferences, you would have that knowledge on, are they a family? Are they spa? Because for instance, the ultimate is tailoring your communications depending on your segment. So, if someone is, not with a family, for instance, or they're not into golf, that would just be irrelevant sending them something like that. So yeah, email tailoring would be good. You know, CRM system is brilliant for capturing information from a marketing and sales point of view. And you know, I've worked in retail for a bit, and I hope also as we now sort of get more familiar with some of the sort of digital transformations going on, I think in the next year or two, some even better personalizations will be able to come out in the actual website experience of some of these hotel channels. So, you know, for instance, at the moment, if you went on to Ocado or Waitrose, it might like remember who you are, like, hi Maria, and this was your past purchase basket. And now in hotels, I'm, you know, starting just to see a bit of this now, where you might get your landing page refreshed based on knowing who a bit you are, that you've got, you know, you've got a child, you've got whatever, you've been to these destinations before. That, you know, you just get more smarter. I mean, I don't want to name brands, but, you know, some of my favorite brands who are, you know, highly sophisticated and luxury, it can just be very annoying when you say go there and say you've just been to say Dubai, you've just been to Dubai, and then you go to their London hotel and they just treat you like a complete stranger who's never been there, although you've even maybe been to the London 3 times, you know, and you just think, like, why is that not in your CRM database? You know, that's just providing a moment of dissatisfaction for a customer who's actually a really loyal person to you. You're just making them feel like you've never even seen them before, never even mind, like you say, the actual level of thoughtfulness that then can go on in the customer experience in terms of, oh, you know, here's your favorite wine or whatever that we know you like. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we've all had those experiences, and it is so off-putting when that happens. Important to connect the dots there. And I think another thing that we all think about with marketing is, you know, marketing so much in advance, you know, before your client gets there. What can be done, and this thinking more from, well, actually, travel agency side as well as on property with a client, you know, what can be done sort of during the process of purchasing and then when your guest is actually on property, by both parties, as I say, by the hotel and by the agent that's placed the client there. What can be done sort of during that you've seen done, that's a sort of marketing that's done subtly and thoughtfully whilst a client is in situ, and perhaps afterwards as well?
So I think there is always room for maximizing revenue per customer, per client. So, you know, yes, you could do a lot of this beforehand. So, like, if you take, for instance, Center Parcs, you know, they're very good at making you feel like you're putting this very thoughtful itinerary together before you arrive, where you're booking in pottery and rock climbing and all that. But actually, it's just very smart commercially, because they're just building up this whole revenue per customer. And I think, yeah, to your point, is actually when you arrive on site or in your packages, how are you going to maximize revenue per customer? So, you know, for instance, your staff, are they good at upselling and cross-selling? You know, unfortunately, I see about 80% of times that I don't mean hard sales here, I just mean up experiencing, in terms of, well, if you know, like this spa facility, you might like this. If you want red wine, if you're having a steak, maybe you would like red wine with it. So I think every business could improve with every staff knowing how the products complement each other, and where you could sort of up experience it. And then, like I said, afterwards, also following up with follow-up and loyalty. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I've just seen the time and that we're running out of time. If there are any more questions, please do feel free to pop them in the chat now. And whilst, just before we close off, and whilst we're waiting to see if there are any further questions, we've only just been able to sort of skim the surface here of some really, really important points. Are there, you know, is there anything that you would just like to summarize with, that you'd say, you know, these are the top sort of 3 tips that I would give you right now, thinking about this point in time and everything we've all been through in terms of customer business growth and customer experience?
Yeah, great. So I think, like I say, top tips that you can do now, knowing that we're all in, you know, limited resources and everything, is, yeah, number one, I would say is audit your customer journey. So think of plotting, you know, from the end to end, from the moment that someone researches you at the awareness stage to considering you, to arriving, to leaving, is score yourself out of maybe 5 for each point and think, how good is that? How seamless is it? How smooth is it? You know, put yourself in the customer shoes, and you'll find a moment, whether it's online or offline, across that journey, that can be improved, and that will obviously improve your experience, improve your revenue. Thank you. Second, I would say respond to your reviews. There's so many powerful stats about the power of reviews, whether it's Google or TripAdvisor or Booking.com, in influencing 90% of your 90% of your customers' purchase decisions. But if you go on and have a look, like I'm quite obsessed with this topic at the moment, it's just, you know, only sometimes like 30% of hotels or destinations hospitality are responding to customers' response, and it's such a missed opportunity in terms of increasing revenue, because you can turn like a happy customer into a raving fan. You can get them to book into your suite. But I just see this copy paste sort of, dear guest, can't even be bothered to use your name, not even responding to, you know, these moments of joy that you said you experienced. And thirdly would be taking the time now to do upselling and customer service training, even that virtually, that can be done now, because that is just paramount to providing happy staff, happy customers, happy profits.
Excellent points to finish on. Thank you so much, Ali. I mean, you're a mine of information. I totally agree with those last 3 points. I think sadly we're going to have to close off now. There have been no further questions, but just to let everybody know that Ali, I mean, you probably all have very individual bespoke questions, I would imagine, on this, that's specific to your business. So she has very generously said that she would be delighted. She loves engaging. So please do feel free. You can get in touch with Ali if you just let me know, or any of my colleagues at Mason Rose know that you'd like to speak to Ali, and we'll put you in touch with her. And I'm sure that she'll be able to help you, you know. So fantastic. Thank you so much, Ali. And please, everybody, do feel free now. I think I've been asked to let you know that you need to go to the expo area now to carry on with your afternoon sessions. I hope this has been interesting for everybody. And thank you once again, Ali. Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure. Yeah. Have a great day. Bye.